Okay, way back about 30, 40 years ago, I had a friend that run a car lot in Dallas, and you put your cars in that parking lot, and they'll keep them until you get back from doing some business like. So he told the man who drove the car, and I said, "Now we close at 8 o'clock tonight." He said, "Okay." So when 8 o'clock come that night, well, he locked the office door and locked the gate outside and went home. That man never had showed up to get his car. And so the next morning, bright and early, that man walked up the parking lot and said, "I'd like to get my car." I said, "Y'all locked it up in here last night and I couldn't even go home." He said, "Well, I told you we closed at 8. You went here at 8, so we locked up and went home." And he said, "Well, I'd like to talk to the manager of this place, C.P. Owens." I said, "That's who I'd like to talk to." And he said, "Well," he stuttered, and he said, "Well, now, you," said, "looking at him." So he gave him the keys, he got his car and left. But I imagine that man that parked his car there spent a long night wondering how he's going to get home or whether he'd get his car or what. That was one of the funny things I heard years ago.
This one's that black girl making a phone and charted on the
I
other
was
end.
in a grocery store down here in town years and years ago. I was a teenager. I went in that store and a lady walked up, picked the phone up, and called the operator and said, "I want to place a call and pay at the other end." And I guess she's talking about call and collect. That's what she called it, pay at the other end. And that was about all I heard from her.
Speaking of the grocery store, tell about when your uncle or whatever went in and got them grapes.
Well, that was my cousin. So me and my sister back in the 30s, we were parked right in front of a grocery store, a N.P. grocery store, I believe. So my cousin, he come walking up and got in the car with us, and my sister told him, said, "Well, why don't you go in the store there and get us some grapes? And we're hungry." And said, "Okay." So he went in the store and brought back a great big bunch of grapes, a big old purple grapes. We all sat in the back seat of the car and we eat all those grapes. And my sister asked him, said, "Well, how did you get these grapes?" I said, "You didn't have any money." He said, "I just walked in there and told him I wanted them grapes on the credit. And got them and walked out." So we had a big laugh about that. And Daddy and me was sitting downtown one time in an old Model A Ford. They had an oilcloth top to them, no steel top and nothing. So here come a man walking down the sidewalk, had him in a little box like a shoe shine stand. And he noticed right over Daddy's windshield, that oilcloth was beginning to flop and come off the top of Daddy's old Model A Ford. He walked up to the driver's door and said, "Mister, I say you got trouble with the car top about to come off of that." I said, "I can sure fix that for you." Dad said, "Well, what will you charge?" He said, "I'll fix it for 50 cents. And Daddy told him, so, "Well, just get after it then." And so he got his tools out of his little toolbox and got up on the edge of the hood and had him a pair of pliers. And he started pulling out the old nails. He had a cigar in his mouth about 5 inches long. And the nails was hard to pull out, and he was pulling the nails out with a pair of pliers. And in a minute, the nail came out, and his hand hit that cigar and left about an inch of it stuck out of his mouth. we thought he was going to swallow it. So that's another one of the funny things I saw growing up.
What about when that man bought that sheet of plywood?
Piece of plywood, put it on top of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daddy had sold, he had a 48 Buick years ago. And he had sold it to some people. And Daddy always hung out down at a little grocery store because he lived by himself. And he'd see this couple in there bought his car real often, and so they stopped at Big Buick and I come inside the store and got talking to my dad and said, "Where y'all going today?" And he said, "Well, we got to go get a piece of plywood, so don't know how to carry it and put it on top of the car." And Dad said, "Well, somebody hold it down, I know it works." So they went to the lumber yard and bought up a sheet of plywood, and the man told his wife, said, "Well, now I'll get up here and lay down on top of this and hold it down while you drive." So they did, and they started back home with that plywood on top of that big Buick.
Him on top of it.
And her husband was laying on top of it, holding it up there. And she come up on a real rough railroad, and she hit the brakes, and he slid right off the top, down over the hood, and on the concrete. And his head hit the concrete and took off a spot of hair about big as your two hands. He had to go to the hospital to get it doctored.
Come on now.
We laughed about that. I guess if it had killed him, we'd laugh. But that's some of the funny things.
What about this this man selling his mother's farm equipment?
Oh yeah, he was Daddy's running partner, and his mother owned the farm, and she had quit farming, and she had a whole bunch of plows and tractors and things just sitting out there by the barn. And so Daddy told him, said, "I got a son lives in East Texas that he could use a plow like this right here." And he said, "Well, I'll sell it to you for $3. Daddy said, "Well, I believe I'll take it." And he brought a turning plow. And he brought 2 or 3 plows. He brought them down on the farm where I was. And gave them to him. My brother owns them today. He's still got them out in his front yard. And this old boy, he kept on selling all his mother's stuff till he sold every bit of it, just practically for nothing, you know. And said his mother was real busy with the government, that she had to call Washington every morning. This old boy was real bad about bragging. And said, Mama has to call Washington every morning before they open up and get anything done up there." So
Is he the one that used his
Yes.
ashtray for a spit can?
said she's really important up there in Washington. But
That guy spitting in his ashtray instead of out the window.
oh yeah, this old boy was selling all of his mother's plows and things. But sometimes Daddy would ride out the farm with him, and he chewed tobacco. This old boy did, and he didn't have no cup or anything to spit in, so he just opened up the ashtray on the dash of the old car he had, and He'd spit in that ashtray.
Your daddy said he had it all over the floor.
Just running over.
Yeah. So he was something else. I said, what else we got right
Tell about your dad's fishing buddy and
Fell in
that well.
Fell in that well.
Oh, yeah. My daddy had a man called his fishing buddy. They went fishing 2 or 3 days a week. And one night they went down to the lake and they were going to walk out across this field with real tall grass. And it was night and all the light they had was old kerosene lantern, which is not very bright. And so they was walking along there and Daddy looked over there and his partner was gone. He just disappeared. And he had walked off in an old well that wasn't covered up. And he was so fast he grabbed both sides of that well. He was holding on until Daddy could pull him out. Daddy got hold of one of his hands and finally pulled him out of that well. But he was in a heck of a place.
What did he say about that well?
But what was he said about?
That well wasn't there. That
Yeah, he
wasn't
said-
right
Well,
here.
I said
Then
that-
it was up over
Yeah,
yonder.
he said, Dad said, what do you mean walking up from that well? And he said, well, that well wasn't there yesterday.
They done moved it.
Said, they done moved the well. You know how to move a well, Justin?
Very carefully, I guess.
Don't spill any water.
Oh, you dig down right beside the old well.
Mm-hmm. Let it run over.
And you take that dirt, you dug the new well, and piled the dirt up there. And when he got all that done, well, he pulled the water out of the old well and put it in the new well and took the dirt and filled up the old well. So that's how you move a well.
Talk about Virgil.
We'd been baling hay one time back in the real early 40s. And the 4 of us in this wagon, team of mules pulling us, we'd been to the house to eat lunch. And we saw this Model A pickup coming down the road toward us. We knew who it was. We knew that car as far as you could see it. We knew who owned it, drove it. And he started going, all at once he just started going from one side of the road to the other. And he just all over the road, and he had his left leg didn't have no door on the driver's side because he hauled cotton all the time. And he just in and out, so he just took the door off. And we could see his left leg stuck out that door just a kicking and a hollering. He pulled up, finally got it stopped right even with our wagon. And but Daddy said, what in the world are you doing just all over the road like that? We thought you was going to turn your truck over. He said, man, I'm driving along. I felt something cool up my pants leg. Said, I looked down there and there's about a foot of a snake hung out my pants leg. The rest of it, he done crawled way up my leg. And said, I was shaking my leg, tried to shake that snake out of my pants leg.
Couldn't talk.
And he couldn't say a word. He just go, and said, him and his wife was on the way to a funeral, all dressed up, you know. His wife spoke up and said, well, I thought he would choke, said he had his leg stuck out the door, hollering, and said, I thought he would choke.
Thought Virgil was choked.
Yeah, and we got a hole out of the wagon, and that snake was laying on his front axle. and we drug the snake out and killed him, but it come pretty close to having a bad wreck. So we thought that was funny.
The floorboard of his truck was all rusted out, wasn't it?
Yeah, floorboard and the seats, you could see the cotton padding in the seats, you know, everywhere. It's just a real old Model A pickup. And that was a pretty close call.
This is way later on, but when your dad and them were out there painting that house and they were taking a break and that kid came by, showing off his new bike.
Oh, yeah, it showed off his Christmas present.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was over at this little town close to here, painting. It was around Christmas time, and it was a big hill there in front of this new houses. And this heavy-set boy, teenage boy, come down there where my dad, my brother, and my uncle, and the rest of them painting this house. And he come in the house and said, "Y'all come out here and look at my new Christmas present." And they went out in the yard, had a brand new scooter type motorcycle.
I thought it was a bicycle.
No. And so he said, "Would y'all like to see me try it out?" And I said, "Well, sure." And he rode it back up this steep hill, and he said, "Now y'all make sure you watch me, 'cause I'm gonna come in that hill wide open." They said, "Oh, we'll be watching." There's several other painters, and they was out in the front yard watching me come off that hill. He was wide open, and there was a dip in the street out there, and he hit that dip, and the motorcycle turned to the left and hit the curb, and it went way up in this woman's flower bed, tore it all up, and he got up, went and got his bike, and Daddy and all of them seen that he wasn't hurt real bad, and they just thought that's the funniest thing they'd ever seen, is just laughing at him. And he said, "You wait till my dad sees this bike," said, Y'all was the cause of this, so you had me go up that hill and come down through your wide open. So y'all gonna have to pay for that." And my dad said the front wheel was it just nearly turned it crossways, you know, and it was scratched up and beat up, and I could knock the fender off of it. And they still laugh about that today.
Didn't they say, "Hey, we missed it. Try it again"?
So my brother-in-law told him, said, "Hey, boy," said, "why don't you get up on top of that hill and come off of it again?" Said, "I didn't get to see that real good, so would you mind doing that again?" And that boy hollered back and told my brother-in-law where to go to. He had to push it. He had to push it home because it bent his rim, you know, real bad.
Tell about Junior Green and the ragweed.
Well, I don't know.
That won't hurt.
That won't hurt none.
Just tell it like it is. You don't have to say my brother-in-law, just say a friend of mine.
They don't matter.
Well, my brother-in-law lived back then way up west of Fort Worth, and so my brother-in-law and 4 or 5 other teenage boys was out in front of the church house, and people driving up, going inside, and finally this couple drove up in a Model A Ford, had their suits on and really dressed up where they looked nice in church. And so my brother-in-law walked up to him and said, "Hey," he said, "give me a cigarette." He said, "just go out there and get you some of them ragweeds to smoke, ragweeds." So my brother-in-law said, said, "I'll fix you up." So this couple went on inside the church, and while they was inside there, my brother and I went out there to gather up some manure and went in on a paddle, and he went in that Model A Ford and mirrored it all over the gear shift and the door handles and the seats and just
Steering wheel.
all inside, all over the steering wheel. And so they hid out there in the trees when the services were over. And that man come out there, he opened the door for his wife, and she got in. He threw his paddle over in the passenger seat when he got it fixed up. And so they was hid so he wouldn't see them. They never did go inside. So, boy, that I knew real well. And they just stayed outside to see what all they could get into it. So that girl, she got in to sit down, and he shut the door and went around, shut the door, got a hold of the steering wheel, and hit the key and started it up. He said, "Oh, my Lord," says, "what is all this stuff on this steering wheel?" And she said, "Well, I sat down on something," said, "it's stuck to my dress." And I said, "Hey, the world done this?" And I said, "I don't know how in the world we're going to get all this off of us." So my brother spoke up and told her, "So if it's me, I just get some ragweeds and wipe it up." That's what he told my brother to smoke the ragweed. He wound up most of the ragweed. Oh, man, that boy was crazy.
Tell about that old crook, the Greyhound, gambling.
You want us
Oh,
to
yeah.
Man to work for him
You want us to start about?
I don't call no names.
after this.
I don't call no names.
That's all right.
So, way back in 52 or 53, I got me a couple of Greyhounds, and I couldn't wait till I took them up to the track to run them to see what they look like. And so there's a lot of several hundred people out there to see the Greyhound races. And one man, every time he'd come out there, he'd be in a new Cadillac and a suit and tie on, a big cigar. And so he found him a place. He was up here from Houston. He found him a place where he could get into a big dice game. It was in somebody's house. And so they had that dice table rigged electronically and had it wired, the legs would run a wire up the legs of it and then on up through the ceiling somewhere. And he got this little man to crawl up in the attic and drilled him a hole in there where he could watch all the dice tables. And they'd have several $1,000s on that table, you know, betting real heavy because they all had plenty of money. And he told this little bitty man he sent up in the attic to watch, said, "Now when we give you a signal, you mash that little button we give you, and that man will throw a crap, so that he'll crap out and lose all his money." And he got tired. He got tired of doing that, got scared. He said, "Man, I told him I wasn't going to crawl in that attic anymore because I could see them men with their pistols. They had all wearing guns. And he said, I just see them shooting holes all through that ceiling, shooting somebody in the city, because they finally caught on to it, realized what was happening. So he did crawl back up in that ceiling. That was one of the crooked things.
What happened to that old man, that crook?
Well, they found him. He come up missing. And they searched and searched everywhere for several months, and they finally found his body in an old deserted well way out in the country. He got shot, and they threw him in a well. And that,
They shot him for cheating.
yeah, they shot him dead.
Might have been that same well they moved.
It might have been that one of those wells they moved. Yeah, it could have been. Now you tell him something else.
One more about Granny petting that cat.
Oh yeah, back in 1956 we bought our first house, and she always loved cats, and we had a white and brindle spotted cat, and he laid on the couch a whole lot in the living room. So she was in the kitchen cooking supper. I was watching TV. It was about halfway dark in the living room watching TV. It had a wash rag.
I'd been drying my hands on.
My wife been drying her hands on this wash rag, and she just laid it there on the couch by me, and it was 2 or 3 different colors in that wash rag, about the color of that cat, about half dark. And after a while, she come in there and saw that rag. She'd forgot about that, and she thought it was the cat, and she stooped over it, got talking to that wash rag. She said, "Is that mama's baby right there?" And she was talking to that wash rag. We never did let her live it down.